call the meeting to order. First agenda item is just whether there's any update on meter installations.
I didn't even ask. We haven't had that many in the last couple weeks, honestly. Probably might be 10 or 12 more than what we had.
So incremental progress.
Yeah.
The next item I put on deals with the issue of the wording on the water and sewer bills. Specifically the phrase connection fee. I didn't get a chance to look at the Newport sewer ordinance, but the existing water ordinance uses the term base rate and usage rate. And so we have usage rate on for that part of it here. But instead of connection fee, it's called a base rate or base fee. The charter, on the other hand, calls it a service rate. And the Vermont statutes, depending on which part you look at, called them rates, rents, or charges. They use all three terms just in a mishmash throughout the state law. So I looked at a couple other towns to see what they do. And St. Albans' ordinance is the same as ours, base rate and use rate. Montpelier uses the words connection and service totally interchangeably. And they don't have a special term for their usage component. It's just a mishmash of those words, so it's hard to tell what they mean. St. Johnsbury has a totally different concept. They have what they call a fixed charge, an operation charge, and a maintenance charge. But they also have a per gallon charge, even though that's not defined in their ordinance.
Does what we put on the bill have to be in the ordinance?
I don't know that it necessarily does.
I mean, if it's defined, then when we amend the ordinance, I really would suggest ready to serve, which I've seen in a lot of places. And I think that sort of defines what it is that the service is right there, whether you're using it or not.
That's what the village does.
Yeah. I mean, that or put quarterly before base rate.
Yeah, but I don't know if the village is really centered on none of theirs are online. Derby's is hidden, so you can't even look at it because they copyrighted theirs and then hit it. But
intellectual property, I suppose.
But North Troy and Barton aren't available online, so I didn't get a chance to call the clerks and use them what they call them.
I mean,
It's water rate.
we had a problem when we use fixed and variable, and the fixed was not really fixed. And base rate obviously is also confused people. Connection fee is confused people. Unless you put quarterly connection fee.
Well, and then there's the question of connection versus hookup, because some places use the initial construction related fee as a hookup fee, and then after that it's a connection fee.
Right.
The word connection is used.
And we also have connected, we use connected in the ordinance, so I would tend to think that would not be one to choose.
Yeah. So anyway, my purpose in putting this on here was that normally I would think that the city manager, if we had one, would just change it to something. But given that we don't have a city manager, my thought was that we should recommend whatever we're going to change it to, if anything, to the council, and the council can decide. And then that can be changed on the bills going forward.
Water really calls it a water-based charge. And then they bill per cubic foot after that, so they're all over the map.
Yeah. So they're one of the ones.
Because, I mean, the only reason we're discussing this is because the resident took issue with the word connection.
Correct.
Mhm.
A lot have over time, but, you know, it's been a problem, and one of the things that never was addressed when we changed the ordinances is that the confusion of the language that's been in there.
Yeah, they've had a number of oral complaints downstairs
Yeah.
about it, or spent a lot of time explaining it.
Yeah.
And then few written comments, so the thought was to come up with something that may be a little clearer and recommend.
I was gonna say, hope you don't think we're gonna come up with something that appeases everybody.
Well,
Because I think, but, I mean, I'm fine with water base or I don't remember what you said, but I was fine with it.
Ready to serve.
Yeah, ready to serve. I've never, so where have you seen that? Cause I've never seen that.
Right there. Framingham, Massachusetts.
Oh. No.
So I hate to say it's stolen from Massachusetts, I think probably Jesus.
I don't care one way or the other.
And I can tell you that there's a town in
And that-
New York that includes it in your tax bill.
That is,
The water bill?
that is their base fee?
They get it differently, yeah.
Bessie?
I guess my only thought, I don't mind it. My only thought is that if somebody's gonna challenge it, they're gonna look at systems around us,
Yeah.
what systems around us are calling it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, whatever, it's just, you know, and obviously I think what you need to do, you can resolve it. I think we're throwing quarterly in front of it. As long as you make it quarterly.
Right.
So people recognize, you know, it is there.
Your quarterly base charge.
Mhm.
well, then we have the question of whether there's a program, well,
They have, I think, enough characters, they might have to abbreviate quarterly.
PTR, L1, maybe.
Is this something that we can sit on for a little while and just when we come up with a rate structure, the next rate structure, we can make that recommendation? Is it
Could be done, could be done at the same
doesn't sound
time.
pressing.
Right.
Yeah.
We got 3 months at the very least.
Right.
Yeah.
A little less than that,
2 months, whatever, yeah.
2 months, yeah. I think it's something to cogitate on, honestly.
Well, anyway, I wanted to at least get started on it, if for no other.
Yeah,
reason
no, that's
than
a lot of
All
good
right, so
examples.
We talked about quarterly base. What else? Ready to serve.
Yeah.
I gotta break notes for myself.
Those are really the two
Yeah.
that make sense, I think.
It's a fixed operational cost,
Yeah,
basically.
connection.
The operation,
Right now,
yeah.
I think we're just saying connection fee, order connection fee.
That's what
I've
fixed
got a
base rate.
redacted bill right here. It's called a
Or our,
residential
Yeah.
water connection fee.
From where?
I mean, this is a copy of a
Okay.
bill that comes to my office from the last quarter, redacted, identifying information, but it's called a residential water connection fee and a residential sewer connection fee.
Yeah.
And then the other terms are residential sewer meter usage rate, residential water meter usage rate. That's how it's described, so the flow is.
Are there character limits in them, right?
Yeah, the line ones and, character ones, as well as decimal places.
You can do resi, quarterly resi,
Right.
connecting a rate or whatever, yeah.
And your narrative above the full line is, limited to. I think right now, here the builder
what's the
says, have you
fold?
been metered?
She means like a
They've got,
literal
I think
fold.
it's six lines in the upper
You
section.
mean like? You mean by fold line?
Yeah, yeah, it's right, if
Whatever
John
you call
holds up
that.
his bill, so you can see it.
Yeah, so just pass it around.
Yeah, there's
No, I
this
got it.
line
Yeah.
here, so that's sort of above the fold,
Okay.
because this is something different. And this one has effectively, let me see, 27 lines, but umpteen are used, so there are technically available for a rate. I believe it is 9 lines, because we have a split in there. You don't necessarily want to hear from Chip about this.
Yeah,
but
no,
I did
I
today.
don't want to ever learn how to use that software.
Because there are 54 lines, and then and yeah.
Okay.
The software has some limitations.
Mhm.
And it's got some really good information, but some real limitations.
So I've got 3 options and we're gonna think about it and put it forward to council with rate structure.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, we can wait until the rate structure, or we could do
Some
it ahead of
options on
time,
that,
so
yeah.
they have the lead time of going
No.
into the system and changing it. Either way.
Is it synonymous with an operating fee?
I think that's what Tom had mentioned, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think that's what Tom had mentioned, yes. He had said base operational fee or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, trying to keep it small, but I don't know if operating covers everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can resolve it next time.
Well, you've got a few to chew on, so.
Yeah, no immediate rush. So then, the next, item, is the interim amendment, that we've been discussing, and I sent a new iteration of that around, based on comments at the last meeting. So the document that I sent, the first, the first 3 pages of it again are the existing language. And then the rest of it is the, markup language.
Um,
And,
go through that again.
yeah.
There's a highlighter in there.
Of the telling or in your, first section 401,
Yes,
second paragraph, at the end.
that's the change that was suggested last time.
Yeah, well, you struck out half of which you want to put back in. Very last line,
Well,
does not reasonable or obstructed
yeah,
scheduled access.
I got you. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
between the
yeah.
strikeouts and the underlines.
I have to-
This is really helpful. I appreciate the strikeouts.
Yeah, yeah, it's really good.
Okay. So, but the reasonable and obstructed scheduled access,
Yeah.
replacing the words exclusive control, that's what the intent
Yeah,
is there.
that was clear. I just thought I would correct it before we
Yeah.
got too far along.
Right, and then 2 paragraphs below that, the next change, basically the last 2 lines, and with such inspection. The new wording would be, and with such inspection as shall be required by the city to assure appropriate installation.
Can we back up 1 to paragraph before that
Okay,
and discuss it? So it's when a structure, that is served by meter is demolished. We have the request that they return the meter. I think that maybe what we want to do is add something in there that the account will be billed until it returns the meter or it documents its loss. Because we're just requesting return a meter and you don't know.
Yeah, I wish Tom was with this because it also has to do with the deadlines that we don't want lingering where people take out a meter or disconnect service. It's a good way to make sure that you're, not that if someone's gonna go about that, have they probably read this document? But it's just written down.
Yeah, it would give you a level of enforcement. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
there are other cases, but this is where it cropped up in my mind.
You asked Tom that?
No, I haven't talked to Tom about that.
What's that?
We were just going through, if the structure is destroyed, returning the meter. If it has not been destroyed, such as a fire, whatever, that would maybe need a penalty if you don't return it in a timely basis, like you'll still be billed. And the question that Patrick brought up is very valid. Are there other cases where we need to have that same type of language put in, where a meter is taken out and not returned, or?
Well, so yeah, I guess I was saying, we talked about how you can't, someone would call it to disconnect their hookup. And you're like, well, the meter's way the hell over here. Our main's like here. We don't want this line just dead for eternity that could be dumping water, or they could rehook up and you wouldn't know, or they could say they're disconnected and they never did, turn it back on. So if you don't get the meter back, or they don't provide you a documentation of we had a fire, you don't know the condition of that spur line off of your main that could then be dumping water or reactivated, or I don't know. Is
Well,
that
I
a concern?
assume if I assume you're shutting them off the curb when they're demolished, right?
Yeah.
Or, well, it's not just limited. It says reconstructed or altered in a manner. So like either that's not clear enough or too broad, or you want to have some sort of guarantee that you're going to be notified if that sort of activity is happening because it's your water line, your service.
Technically, it's our meter too. They shouldn't be
Right.
Sure.
They shouldn't be
touching the
touching
meter, period.
Okay, so that's that what this is really getting at.
I mean, it's property of the city of Newport.
So I think this might need some work.
Yeah, because the city needs to be contacted so that the city can go pull the meter out.
Right.
Now, in the
Okay.
case of a fire, I mean, that's
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
gonna be
different.
crashed, yeah.
Right,
But if they're doing a remodel in the place,
right.
and that it happens to be in the way, and we need to shut the water off, off outside, and they want the meter temporarily moved, or it's still our meter. Nobody's touched that meter.
Right.
So rather than simply requiring that the meter be removed,
It needs to be required that they contact the
Us,
city for removal.
correct.
So we're saying something along those like when it requires or allows for removal of a meter, the city shall be contacted to remove the meter or something like that. Okay. And
If it's a fire or if it's totally destroyed, to inform the city.
I think it's got, yeah.
I think we'd be informed anyways at that point.
You would think so, but it isn't almost on the owner, perhaps?
It probably is, but typically if there's a structure fire, the fire department's calling us, and we're
Fair enough, sure.
we're aware of it, so we're shutting it
Is
off.
like the utility or the power company also coming?
Yeah, they disconnect, yeah, because you're gonna have pipes broken in the house, or they're gonna have water going everywhere.
So what about
Cases.
abandonment? Not that you're probably getting paid for your bill if the property is abandoned.
Well, if they ban
You
the
just
property
turn
and the
it off.
meter's there, we're not gonna know. And in the wintertime, if it freezes and destroys the meter, well, then that's on them.
No, that's not something in this section of the ordinance.
No.
And we've had some where
Yeah.
people they've froze.
So is there like any weird sort of statute in the water, in the state language that talks about turning off water due to abandonment? I mean,
There's nothing in the disconnect statute that I'm aware of. That
Okay.
I understand that.
I mean, in South Burlington, we had people calling all the time and ask for their water to be shut off while they went south for the winter.
Sure.
So,
Well, we do that,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's worth.
And the only instant where I would actually go to a property and shut it off without having the okay to do it would be if, you know, we know there's a break in the house and there's obviously
Yeah.
water coming out the doors or, so you shut it off and then try to contact the owner, you know.
All right. Well,
after
it
the
sounds like
fact.
you'll just do it if it needs to be done.
Yeah.
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 And then my only comment after that in this section is the next paragraph. I think we need to clarify substantial renovation, like. Didn't we establish that if you're increasing the footprint of your dwelling, you have to get a zoning permit? Is that the trigger? Like, if a zoning permit is required for renovation, you know, the city must be notified so that the meter can be updated, installed, replaced, whatever, upgraded, installed, or replaced. It has to do with, if you're renovating a structure, you can probably modify your meter placement or.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think within this year, we're gonna hopefully have most of the meters in anyways. So unless it's a completely new property.
Yeah.
And, you know, any renovation that triggers the need for a zoning permit is going to at least raise a red flag there. And if there's.
Make sure they have a meter.
Yeah.
If it's now feasible or still infeasible or remains infeasible.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I don't know why it needs to say substantial, I guess, or renovation to any structure.
Well, some renovations are going to be more minor, you know, strictly interior renovations or.
That'd be a major if they were gonna relocate the water line and the meter.
Yeah.
But I see Patrick's point. I mean, we need to justify what substantial is, and I guess if it triggers a zoning permit, then that's substantial.
I think
That's at least an objective way of defining it.
Yeah.
So do we need to define it somewhere? Because we all are not gonna be sitting here for, you know, the rest of the city's life.
well, we could put it right there. In all instances of new construction or renovation that requiring a zoning permit.
Okay,
Yeah, that would cover it without having to define it.
okay.
We just gotta tell the zoning people. Frank's gotta know that, I mean, he does know that that's a check, right? That he runs on an application. What's the water hookup situation?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, and then jumping down 2 paragraphs, we changed the word parameters to conditions. I think we did that last time.
Thank you.
Then it's changed in here. Then, the next round of changes from last time is really in section 4.03. The paragraph that begins with when a meter does not register water usage. Where the idea of a sliding scale was suggested, and you know, the amount it still refers to the 2 consecutive billing periods before any penalties kick in. And then I rephrased it for discussion purposes to say the charge for the first such billing period shall equal 100% of the water base rate. If the customer continues to fail to cooperate in rectifying the issue, the rate surcharge shall be increased in the next and subsequent billing periods to an amount equal to 300% of the water base rate. If the issue is subsequently resolved, charges shall revert to the then effective standard rates.
We'll just flag that water base rate, depending on what the language is.
Right. Well, the water-based rate capitalized like that is actually defined at the beginning
Okay,
of the existing ordinance. So that's,
okay, good.
you know, why I use that term. And that, for that matter, is the reason that city is capitalized everywhere and board is capitalized everywhere. I'm trying to keep the same style and format and definitional consistency with the definitions in the beginning of the bylaw.
Okay.
So if,
And then the numbers that are there are just what I threw in based on some of the ideas that were discussed last time. They can obviously be tweaked.
but do we need to say something because, okay, you've got the water base rate. What happens if it's a user who uses, you know, whatever, 50,000 gallons?
Well, this is just the surcharge.
Okay, just the surcharge.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they get out of paying the use rate.
Well, how would we know the use rate? Isn't this if it's not metered? Oh, this is if the failed,
Which
it's
is the
not,
meter, yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna know because it's not, the meter's
Right.
broken.
Right.
It's a, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's that's why the subsequent billing increases try to make up for that. But yeah, 50,000 per quarter would be a lot.
Yeah.
I also feel as though where does it, or does it need to say something about abatement that customers, customers or whatever we call them?
I mean, abatement is effectively covered in the statute dealing with the board of abatement.
Okay.
We don't need a special provision here to deal with that.
Okay.
That's a procedure for private, like I say, that dictates how it works,
Okay.
what the process is.
We'll just leave it if the issue is subsequently resolved.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, in resolution, in many instances, it's just going to be as simple as swapping out the meter.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Am I allowed to ask questions here?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was just curious if I'm understanding this correctly. If the meter breaks at some point during a billing period, does that mean that there's gonna be a penalty fee for that first quarter, but they didn't know?
No,
Or
and
how are we contacting
it's-
to let us know?
it's if the city's refused entry to work on the meter.
So it says, if the customer fails to cooperate with the city's efforts for 2 consecutive billing periods, then you start getting a surcharge.
All right, so if they're refusing to cooperate and do that.
And that's 6 months.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
effectively got 6 months to get it fixed.
Yeah.
I have a number of other questions in here. but I don't want-
You also have an extra billing period potentially, because if it breaks in the middle of the billing
Sure.
period,
Yeah.
it won't be till the next billing period, they know it's not reading.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the customer be notified, hey, there's something wrong with your.
So it kicks in once you're notified. basically.
So if people are happy with 100, 200, 300, I don't know what else we would do here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being a big issue. I mean,
Normally for violations of ordinances, people are cited for violation of the ordinance and they're given notification of where to go to court or where to go for a hearing before, they can either pay the fine like upfront or they can go to the hearing. And then someone, at that point, before any fine is imposed on them, adjudicates whether or not is it or what other excuses might exist for the violation. And I think probably in most of the
Yeah,
ordinances,
we've talked about that 5 or 6 times. My inclination is whatever we put together, we'll run it by the city attorney and get an opinion from someone licensed to practice in Vermont who practices municipal law. From there.
you should have some authority for a surcharge that is
Well, that's my point. We'll ask them.
great. That's all I'm suggesting.
Well, the last time, yeah, we've heard the suggestion several times. That doesn't mean we have to, necessarily adopt it before we get advice from some of the licensed practices.
Yes, sir. We're just citizens.
So I see we fixed the
The next paragraph about data log.
the data log, just good. Speaking of that, did they run the data logger on my neighbor?
Oh, yeah. They're back downstairs toilet.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she emailed me first thing that following Monday.
Yeah.
Jason went right over, and actually they shut the line off to that toilet, and then he went back over the next day. I haven't heard back from him, but I'm assuming it's just that downstairs toilet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was 10,000, what was it? 30,000 gallons or something?
Yeah, their bill was what, $1,400 or
I
something?
can't remember, there's no,
Yeah.
there's just,
So.
did partially jump out, but I didn't press it into my brain.
So they, when they went to data log, that they actually discovered the toilet
Yeah.
for them, which is
Why
what-
turn it off and watch?
is what
it?
we normally do. We'll go in, we'll data log it, and that's, you can see, you can see it right there that, hey, something's just running, it's running now.
Right.
And
So
then you just go turn stuff off till it's
they
stopped?
went and looked. They typically with a toilet,
Yeah,
if you know what you're looking for,
Yeah.
you'll find it immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm assuming it's a downstairs bathroom. They don't use a whole lot
Mhm.
or use that frequently.
Yeah,
So unfortunate. That does happen.
yeah.
That's my first suspect. If
Yeah.
somebody's got water running all the time.
Mhm.
So the other change in that section, that EBC the paragraphs, simplify that. So the old C and D are essentially rolled into C now. That if a service meter is more than 5% slow, and it doesn't matter whether it's residential, commercial, whatever it is, it's one rule for everybody. Did you have another question?
I have a bunch of questions, but I wanted to let you guys kind of do your thing, and then I'll try to ask some of my questions at the end.
Okay.
Cause I'm from Wildflower Way, and, so our whole street has pretty much gotten together over the water bills.
Yeah.
And we sat down, we had a discussion, so I had some questions, and I want to bring the information back. We're gonna have another meeting, because we've noticed a substantial increase over the last 2 years. I know my bill in particular has gone up like every quarter over the last 2 years, from 171 to now 371. And so it's more than doubled. And so, there's a lot of stuff, but I wanted to let you guys get your business out of the way, and then I wanted to discuss that. So if that's all right with you, I'll just wait to the end.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all welcome to come.
Unfortunately, they couldn't make it, and I had to reschedule my shift today to be able to make it here.
So
So
thanks for coming.
there's health issues and other issues that they've got, but
You get it?
so I'm gonna be the kind of in between.
Okay.
We were just talking about some people come last week or 2 weeks ago that had a very high bill. Our rates have gone up a lot. It's just my wife and I living there, and my last bill was just under $300. So if you're over that, could be if you have a family and kids, multiple people in the house, it could be usage. Or in this case, it could be we data log. What we can do is go in and data log that meter. So it will tell whether you have continuous use, like the toilet.
Well, most of us don't have the meters yet.
Yeah. I was
So
gonna say, I don't
that's
know
something
about,
that,
Well,
that's something
we're pushing to try to put meters in, so.
Well, it is another issue that I wanted to bring up. I don't want to derail your meeting,
Yeah.
but that's why I figured I'd let you guys get all your business done, and then we can
Okay.
discuss everything. Otherwise, it's gonna take a while. I don't want to do everything.
It'll never end. It's just,
I want you guys to be able to go home too. So-
Yeah.
Okay, so, so where were we? We had the
See, yeah.
yeah, essentially eliminated the residential commercial distinction and simply now says that the meter is more than 5% slow, etc. doesn't matter which it is. And then 404,
So,
oh, sorry.
Question on 404, but.
so, which charge possible, just. So you're using 6 months, we're using 6 months on C. Okay, we are using 6 months. there,
Yeah,
too.
6 months is the
Okay.
existing language and the existing, I didn't change that.
Okay,
But. Yeah, that was actually a question I had for VN, see whether we should change 6 months to the, prior to billing periods.
Yeah, because that's what the other language was.
Yeah, because
6 months is the current language.
because you not necessarily don't have reading for 6 months.
Correct. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one there.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
Where's the other
So-
use of 6 months? Is that the only use of 6 months?
The only one I think in the sections that we're actually looking at.
So I have another question on C. Say somebody in the office realizes that somebody's usage is consistently dropping. And they suggest that Tom and the guys go pull a meter out and put a new one in or test it. Are you gonna charge the customer for removing, transporting and testing the meter when they didn't call in?
I'd say no.
How would we know?
Right. So how do we address that?
Yeah.
Well, the A, B, and C sections make the circumstances in which there's a customer requested analysis based on the customer's
Yeah.
perception that there's a problem.
So if the
If the
city does
city's
it, they're not-
perception, if the city does it, this whole section doesn't apply.
so if the city does it, then no, then they're not gonna get back.
Right.
Right.
Because
The city
it's
does
here.
that when the bills, go haywire. Because Stacy has told a number of people.
If there's a sudden jump or drop,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. A major one,
it flags it.
yeah,
Hmm.
because I talked to her about the customers on Fernwood Circle and she said she'd missed it. And I said it wasn't substantial. It just was,
Wasn't
you
big
know,
enough, yeah.
yeah, I'm looking at, when I'm looking at something high, I'm looking at what it's related to.
Right, but
Yeah.
what I'm getting at is if the city notices something and goes back,
Hopefully.
are we going to build
No,
in?
because it says if, that's what John says.
Yeah,
It says, if the
the,
customer leaves.
yeah, the customer, if the
You're not-
customer
okay.
initiates.
Yeah, we are not.
Let me try this again. Regardless, this is the customer call section. Do we need a section? That if the city recognizes a meter is slowing down, do we need a section to address the city going out, pulling out a slow meter and putting a correct reading meter in? Is that person, should that person be accountable for the
loss.
loss?
It's tough because we have no way of knowing the loss.
Well, we do once the new meter goes in.
Yeah, but we don't know how long it's persisted.
Well, you should be able to look at the records.
And you think it's gonna be that pronounced? It's
They
not
start
doing this
going-
all the
Some-
time?
yeah, when they go, they go.
Fast.
Yeah.
When they go fast.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a slow.
Okay.
Blowing steady.
Like a Baron blows or something.
So.
Is it in Tyler?
Huh?
Bucket wheel? What is it?
Inside of them, yeah, it's spinning. Well, some of them are different, but again, if I don't understand the speeding up one, but I mean, if it's the meter is getting bad, it's to their benefit. You know, it's not calculating the water that's
Right, I
going
mean,
by
you
it because
look
it's
for
wearing
trends.
out.
I mean, that's how they used to do it. You look for trends. You know, it's not just blips. You don't just look for blips.
Okay.
I just throwing it out there that we have we have a way for collecting lost revenue if somebody calls. We don't have a way of collecting lost revenue if we pick it up. That's all I'm trying to.
Okay, so entertain the idea. If there's a section D here, what would it, or I guess it
Well,
wouldn't be a section D, it'd be a
it wouldn't,
different paragraph,
right,
but
right.
what would it say? If a city determines that a meter is faulty by more than 5%, a customer will be charged, whatever, an adjusted charge for the previous 2 billing periods, or as demonstrated by a data log. What do you call it? Data analysis log? Data log.
So you're gonna penalize the customer for faulty
That's-
equipment, the state put, or the city? put?
That, I'm just throwing that out there.
I know a lot of people are gonna be pissed off they get that bill when the city
Yeah.
took their equipment that was faulty.
Well,
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate here. Then you are paying for your neighbor's benefit. That's what it turns into. So everybody's subsidizing those people whose meters are giving them more water than they think. So it's just.
My whole street is already doing that. We all have the exact same bill.
Because you're not metered.
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
You weren't here for the last meeting, but that was the point I was getting at with, I'm not a fan of C. Because if you're not going to collect it from all, you sort of jump ahead. If you're not going to hit one group up, you shouldn't hit the other group up.
And
Right.
so the rates should reflect
Just because-
those assumed losses,
Right.
the inherent
Because
losses.
I can tell you right now, nobody's gonna call in if their water bill's going down.
Correct.
I mean, that was the thing I said.
So that could be, going back either 2 quarters or even a year to say what the average is that they've been using each quarter.
Right.
And then it'd be like years ago when we couldn't get into a place, they'd estimate the bill. So, okay, if, all of a sudden that next quarter drops off considerably and we know it's the meter, nothing lasts forever. We know the meters, they're only good for so long.
Which means that we do need to figure out how to catch drops or increases,
Right.
and how to flag them.
I think Paul's right. If you're not gonna do both ways, then is it really fair that you do C?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we never covered, the prior ordinance did not address the alternative point that you're making at all.
Right.
And the wording in C is identical to the prior ordinance, with the exception of combining residential and commercial and melding C and D together. But that's all the wording in the initial ordinance, in the current ordinance. And so I guess the question is, I mean, the other way to look at it is, do we just take that right out and simply rely on?
I mean, if a customer calls in and says, here's how I look at it. If a customer calls in and says, my water bill keeps dropping, I don't understand why.
That's never gonna happen.
If they call in and say that, we should just be happy that they called in and we got the right fixed meter.
And I'll carry that. Like, I don't actually feel the need to have any of these sections, because what really needs to happen is the city needs to know how to identify faulty meters. We just need to figure that out. How do we do that? Because your guys are driving around every 3 months collecting the data. Is it a full log, or is it just the last read?
They're not reading anything. They're going
Yeah.
around with a unit that captures everything.
Yeah.
And they bring it downstairs to Stacy. She plugs it in.
Okay.
That's when you're gonna see that.
But is it
information
just
there.
the last reading and the current reading, or?
Yeah.
So you have to actually physically attach a different device to do a data log run.
Oh, yeah,
on
the data
meter.
logs are
Yeah.
totally
Yeah,
different.
so
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we're going with a data log for any reason at all, it's most likely going to be because they think their usage is too high. In which case, you're going to determine whether it is or isn't, and whose fault it is or isn't.
Right.
And then there's really no reason for any of this, because the likelihood that anybody's going to call and complain about it being
Slow.
slow is 0 to none.
Yeah.
And if it's fast, then we know that the readings are good. Or if it's fast, then we have no real way of saying how long it's been elapsed.
Unless you start doing monthly readings.
Unless you start doing monthly readings. And so like, I don't think any of this is really all that necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of that is in the current ordinance. The only reason we're even talking about it is that
It was already there.
it's trying to clean up the
Clean up what
differences
was-
between residential and commercial.
Paul, you haven't had any instances where a meter would speed up?
Not displacement meters, I mean, Venturi's, sped up. I have had turbine meters speed up, if somebody changed piping upstream or downstream, we weren't getting the proper flow characteristic before it hit the meter.
Does it correct itself or does it stay sped up?
The turbines,
Yeah.
put a strainer on it, that's all you can do. Put a strainer on it, it reduces your number of pipe diameter lengths before the meter. And, you know, it's really all you can do. Because at that point,
It's getting like water hammers? What's?
no turbulence.
Oh,
If
okay.
there's a bend before a meter, the turbulence will mess the turbines up.
Yeah.
So they've got these big strainers that you put before them. And it makes the.
Breaks the flow apart.
Yeah.
It makes it, yeah, it makes it a lot more
Yeah.
laminar before it
Okay.
goes through. And then Venturi meters are just, it measures the pressure on this side, the pressure on this side. And based on the pressure differential, it calculates the flow through it.
Okay.
I think going back to this particular section, I think it was there to prevent people who thought their use was too high, demanding that the meter be replaced.
Or
So-
occupying a bunch of these guys' time.
Yeah, so we need to address that issue and not worry about the too fast, too slow potentially,
Mhm.
but the waste of time issue.
So do we solve this by saying, you know, a resident can request a data log? If the meter's running properly, then you're gonna pay the time and materials of the staff who showed up to run the log?
We don't,
No.
I don't-
you don't pay anything.
we don't charge for data logs.
Charge for a data log.
That's kind of a benefit to, you know,
Being a
help,
client.
help the
So
people
what
out.
if we, what if we did something like, if the data logger says that the meter's correct and they're still insistent, we'll change your meter out, but if the meter matches, you're getting charged for the new meter and you're getting charged for our time.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that.
And leave it at that.
No,
And get rid of all the rest of this old language.
Yeah.
That certainly has the,
I think that cures the problem that was trying to be addressed.
right,
If it works,
Does that mean that, if the meter that got taken out is found to be faulty, that you're not gonna charge the customers?
Correct. Yep.
I think that's fair.
because ultimately they're gonna not charge the customer to replace the meter at the end of its lifespan anyways. So if it just died prematurely, you wouldn't get charged.
Right.
But if you're insistent that it's a problem and it's not a problem, then we're like, okay, you waste our time and money, so you need to pay for it.
Because we know we're gonna start having meters.
Failing, and you'll run a
Failing,
data
and we're gonna
log
be-
and you'll figure it out, right?
We're gonna end up, you know, starting to replace some of these meters that we put in 15 years ago.
Yeah, I like that.
My work here's done. It's happening.
Not quite.
Jaspers are on the hill. Hey, it trims a lot of fat from this document, honestly.
Okay,
Keep it simple.
Mhm.
so we're done with that. 404, yeah. The board must, authorized by the board, the employees must have free access. Should we say reasonable access? I mean, free access.
Well, we were supposed to use the same language, right?
free access came out, is what the only change made in that section so far.
Yeah.
From the current language is changing the word inspectors to employees.
But I think what I'm saying is, I think our former language needs to be corrected.
Reason.
The access means
I
I have
think-
to leave my house unlocked, you guys.
So,
Yeah.
But
and
We-
then anytime.
We won't enter your house unless somebody's there.
I realized, but I just,
No
But we
way.
use reasonable unobstructed scheduled access earlier.
yeah,
So we
that
could
was my point.
Yeah.
change it to the same
the
language.
same language.
Yes,
that
thank
we-
you.
And I think we, if I look through my
Yeah.
notes, I think we did that.
And we don't enter a house unless there's two of them.
I mean, I understand that, but you know, somebody can scream a
Oh, sure.
lot and you've done this is on you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So that's easy enough. We'll change that so it's consistent with the other.
yep.
Right.
Yeah, and in the cases that you need unscheduled access, you will just be turning off the curb stop.
Yeah.
Say for a fire or something.
Oh, something like
Yeah.
that, you know, if it's an emergency, yeah.
Yeah.
But even in a case like that, I'd say, you know, we've had an issue this winter over at,
Sure.
Masonic Temple. Well, they had a water break. We shut the water off, but the concern is, how they heating the place? Are you heating with water?
Radiant, yeah.
You know, you
Or
got a
hydronic,
you got a
yeah.
boiler. So, you know, at that point, we got on the phone and between myself, fire chief, and we found out we got a hold of somebody. So we take it to that next level because we certainly don't want to have major issues in a place.
Blow a boiler for the roof.
Yeah, and then in section 403B, I added a sentence at the very end, which I think is the only change from last time. The granting or denial of a waiver by the board shall be documented in writing, and the decision of the board shall be recorded in the clerk's office. And clerk is a defined term, and it means the city clerk. And those are for the waivers for the infeasible, impossible, impractical, either where people apply for the exemption, they're granted the exemption,
Mhm.
just to create a paper trail. So that people don't have to go scrounging through minutes of old council meeting minutes. There's an actual organized record.
So does this agree fully, because I'm just gonna do it in my brain, section 401C, and instances where the structural and plumbing modifications are in there.
Right, and that's, and the point of,
Well, I was wondering whether it should mention applying for a waiver in there, or if it's fully covered in 406. The application process.
well, the last sentence of 401C, it indicates, does cross-reference 406. It's in instances where either structural or plumbing modification are required, but it deemed it feasible, et cetera, and the board has granted a waiver pursuant to section 4.06. And then, so it does cross-reference.
And the water commissioner's board is. or
It's the city council.
Okay.
It's defined in the beginning of the
Yeah,
ordinance as the city council. This
Because it's that nowhere does it say you have to apply for a waiver. But what's missing is the application.
Right.
well, about 10 or 12 lines down, it says the customer may request that the board grant a waiver of the requirement to obtain a meter. The request shall be made in writing and shall be scheduled as an agenda item by the board at its next meeting.
So, yeah.
Where would this go in the clerk's office? This waiver?
Well, what they probably would do is just set up a book. I mean, they have binders for all kinds of different specific topics down there. They could just set up
A file.
a meter waiver,
Yeah.
triggering binder, keep track of it there or file.
And it would have like your photographs or whatever case they made to the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be internal to the city.
Sure. And that could be a modification in future zoning for the applications.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's not worth saying recording the clerk's and zoning administrator's office or anything like that.
It might be, I think it'd be worth it creating a application for a waiver
Okay.
and then have a narrative section to further explain, but I think that summarizing the important details that you want or should have in a waiver,
Yeah.
would be really good.
Oh, yeah, creating an application
Yeah.
form would make sense, because then the application form could require the span number, the 911 address.
Yeah.
You'd want both of those,
Yeah.
and, ideally the account number for the water and sewer.
And all your hookup information, pipe size, reason for, infeasibility,
Photographs,
photographs.
Zoom lens.
I can't believe you offered to draft that up.
I don't think I did.
Well, that's the thing. I feel as though that,
Yeah, I mean, if there's a canned form created for it, then it would make it a lot easier for someone who looks at this to initiate that process.
And remember, we're still gonna be around when most of these hit the budget. So,
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
so is that a project for us to draft, something to
Yeah.
draft out?
well,
It would be very simple, honestly. I could do it. I could look at the zoning application, make it look like that. And it would just
Yeah, just be a one page.
give it a Stacy, she could put a seal on it or something.
And then we can tear it apart once you create it.
Yes, as we always do.
Yeah.
Jennifer does that for sport.
Charges. Prior to court. Trade specific to. Six.
Do we need, it might be in here,
I'm sorry?
do we need, or should we formalize the, when you apply for a meter, when you get billed the meter rates? Should that be somewhere in here for pre-existing accounts? Because we're gonna have some drag over, obviously.
Right, but aren't we kind
Well,
of,
well, are you referring to that, practice that the council approved that's in the council minutes?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that
Yeah, that actually does
I
make
don't-
sense. I never thought about that.
my thought would be you don't add it to the ordinance because it's already separate and we're down to a third of the meters left to go in.
it's either way. I mean,
Right.
I would go either way, which is why I'm asking
Right.
whether it should be or not.
Right.
And then you've got, potentially some other connections. I mean, how quickly, I guess this is a brand new meter. You got the zero reading to begin with.
Really, Rick? Haven't eaten dinner yet.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
It's on the schedule. I don't know, it's something to post back and forth, do we
It
do
is.
it, do it not?
Right. Because the council passed it as just a, what did they pass it as?
Just as a policy or practice that,
Okay.
yeah, the council essentially ratified what is a practical matter the clerk treasurer's office has done for the last 10 years. In terms of how they dealt with it. And then 802, there were a couple of changes there. The phrase "have a service line" was added, and then occupied is deleted and substituted with "improved with a structure," and whether or not the property is improved with a structure and whether or not the water service is turned on and available for use. In other words, if you have a service line connected, you pay the base rate. Which is essentially the way it works now, but this makes it clearer. And then the phrase at the top of the last page, I think we had changed that before the last time around.
Did you want the one saying, starting with water bills are rendered?
Yes.
My question would be on that. It says water bills are rendered in the name of the customer.
Oh, yeah, you questioned customer last time.
And I'm fine with customer.
Well, the reason it says customer goes back to the
Yeah.
definitions at the beginning. If we change the word there, then we have to go back and change it.
I'm not on that.
200
I'm
other
on
places.
something else.
Okay.
I accepted that last meeting, so that's okay. A customer shall receive one bill with respect to each meter assigned to that customer. Except, okay, we take a customer like, that's when they got rentals. They do not receive one bill, it's per location, not per customer.
So that's per meter.
Well,
It's a meter, but assigned to that location. So if it says a customer, if I'm, own several properties,
Mhm.
it potentially, I would, think I'm going to get all of the bills in one. I think it should say location assigned to that location.
or we can change it a separate bill with respect to each meter location.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or each metered property.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's how it is right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was shall receive a separate bill. Yeah, that's a lot clearer than either the old language or.
Speaking of clearing up language, is there any way we could clear up section 804? I had to read it about 5 times over to, recognize what we were, just clear what we're trying to say, except it is
Well, I guess the
mind-boggling.
I think
the one thing that's clear is there was a typo in the original ordinance in the caption in terms of the word collection.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
you can just take that and put it in front, like, bill due dates shall be clearly printed on the bill. Any water charge not paid within 30 days after mailing, an interest charge shall be added to the water charge. You just make it 2 sentences.
The way it's structured right now is,
Confusing.
well, no, I wanted to remove the and, but then, the bill and shall be at least 30 days after mailing, and I'm thinking,
So let me read it as it's proposed to be amended. If any water charge is not paid by the bill's due date, which shall be clearly printed on the bill and shall be at least 30 days after mailing, an interest charge shall be added to the water charge. And the phrase "an interest charge shall be added to the water charge" comes from the current ordinance. The 2 words "water charge" perhaps we should change to read to, so that it reads to the sums due. But continuing anyway, the next sentence, the interest charge shall be calculated at the same rate and in the same manner as interest is calculated on delinquent taxes as set forth in 32 VSA chapter 17, section 1674, and chapter 133, section 5136. Though that phrase comes out of the current bylaw, that's not changed. The city may place a lien on the real estate, comma, may refer the property for tax sale, comma, and may disconnect service in accord with and subject to the procedures set forth in 24 VSA chapter 129, if delinquent water charges remain unpaid. And 24 VSA Chapter 129 is the long 15 or 20-page procedure on what you have to do to disconnect water service. So it's the statute that has all the regulations and requirements and limitations on if, when, how, and by what procedure water service is disconnected.
So I don't know if this is, if this would, be appropriate in here or as a separate standalone, because you want your ordinance to have teeth, but some of the systems that we manage would, if a person came in with a payment and it wasn't the full payment and they set up a payment schedule and it was paid before the next bill was due, there was no interest charge. I don't know if that's an ordinance thing or if that's just a procedural thing that could be done, or if the city's even willing to do it. But as times and things get harder, it's something to think about. If somebody is proactive enough to come in and say, on the due date, this is what I got, I can pay this and this before the next bill comes out, should we be charging them interest?
I think you could do something because I mean, they would have to set up a schedule of payments,
Right.
extenuating circumstances.
Right, I mean,
And potentially it should have something in the ordinance, I would think that defer to our attorneys on it.
right,
Um,
just throwing it out there, food for thought.
Don't penalize the person who's really trying to pay it.
Right.
You penalize the
Exactly.
ones that are just ignoring it.
Right. Exactly.
and as long as they have to keep to the schedule.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sure, sure.
you know, So
Yep.
I think you could work something out.
Yeah.
Formalize. I mean, they have done that on tax bills.
Yep.
Successfully.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know if the ordinance is a place for it, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Well, with property taxes, a lot of towns, and Newport City did in the past, until 3 years ago, have a policy, the gist of which is that, properties were not referred for tax sale until a year after the delinquency date. And during that year, people would have, if people set up a payment plan, and stuck to it, then they wouldn't be referred at all. And-
So potentially you could refer to a.
But that payment
plan.
plan did not waive interest or penalties. That's how it was done here.
You know, one this way, with interest and penalties.
But you're talking a lot bigger amounts too,
Yeah,
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
right.
I would think that we could get it to reference the conjunction of that here and leave it up to the council to change
Right.
it easily if needs to.
I mean, what's your thought? It's, if the city chose to do something like that, would it be part of an ordinance or would it be practices and procedures sort of thing, or?
Well, the tax sale policy is really just a council policy in the sense that subsequent councils could change that.
True.
You know, for instance, in some towns, depending on who the select board and who the tax collector are, some towns used to have a policy that literally, within 30 days after the due date for taxes, anyone that was unpaid was referred for tax sale. Period, end of conversation. Under the new tax sale law, that can't happen. There's a year delay built in automatically now. And that law also applies to water and sewer bills in terms of being able to tax sale.
Yeah.
They're used to sale process for water and sewer bills. So there's effectively a year built in to play catch up anyway now under the new law. So, you know, it's actually theoretically possible under the new law to at least on water and sewer bills, essentially always be 3/4 behind, but never get to the point of being referred for a tax sale.
No.
If they're clearly gonna pay some interest.
Yeah.
But it is possible to never
Yeah.
get into that bind. And
Thinking about it, I mean, I think there's validity to it and incorporating in that, the anticipation that the council will establish a structure, collection structure. If we could put it that way and leave the details to the council, hopefully they aren't gonna some toss it in the garbage, but
yeah, I think we'd have to look at the details in the new tax sale statute in terms of how that works, because most of the communities that had the year grace period type of policy were operating under the old tax sale statute, which literally said the taxes, if they're 1 day delinquent, you can start the tax sale process.
Yeah.
And, obviously nobody, I know of only one town around here that was almost that quick regularly. Wasn't Newport City. The more common pattern was, you had to be a year behind, so that effectively by the time the process started, you owed 2 years before the process was even initiated. And then because of the cost of going through the tax sale process, water and sewer would get added on at that point in time. Nobody would be tax sale for water and sewer unless they were typically going up for property taxes at the same time. But
So
yeah,
it sounds like we should add something under the 804, even if it's
yeah,
appealing to the board versus having an employee make the decision.
well, if there's going to be some sort of, across the board reduction, abatement of interest, say on delinquent water charges, the same would apply to sewer for that matter too, then
But that would only
probably should
be,
be a policy of some sort adopted by the council, outlining how it works, what the parameters are, so that it's automatic, it's not discretionary downstairs. That I have a much clearer sense of how to do that under the old statute than the new statute because of the automatic year deferral.
Yeah.
But basically, the changes that were made in here up to this point are just to clarify the manner in which interest is calculated, which essentially was covered elsewhere obliquely, but to make it explicit and to clarify the due date. And then change the word defer to refer, because defer didn't make any sense.
I mean, like, we can let this keep the teeth, and then there could be a policy for water and sewer, scheduled payments and stuff like that. Okay.
I know we have a young family at the end of our street that's really struggling with this water bill because of the increase. So that's one of the reasons I came down. They're concerned about it because so they have to pay it within 30 days plus get everything tagged on top of that.
Right.
So they would better be able to set up a monthly payment and more likely stick to that. And they want to keep everything, squared away. But it's one of our concerns.
Okay.
Well, to my knowledge, there's no restriction on the people downstairs accepting partial payments on account.
Right.
I heard today about another town which is actually looking at doing exactly that for property taxes. No partial payments allowed, pay it all in full or you're delinquent, which strikes me as utter nonsense. Talking to the former tax collector in the town, who was appalled by the idea. But most towns, Newport City historically included partial payments better than none because it obviously reduces the amount of interest and delinquent fees that people have to pay.
I mean, the key with any of the systems I've worked with is that bill needs to be paid off before the next bill comes up.
That's fair. Yeah.
You're not gonna start stacking.
Yeah.
payment plans.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, so many of the utilities have gone to, payment plans, budget plans, whatever for fuel. That is something that
But,
clearly, and I think the city would be willing to do that, for sure.
well, like propane and fuel oil are seasonal, so you can catch up in the summer.
Yeah, water and sewer don't have that choice, but, it's a little bit easier to come up with, $125 every month than, $400.
Yeah, I'll go. This is Rick. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
I'll just go a step forward further. I missed the gentleman's name from Wildflower, but if they want to call me, I'm happy to kind of advocate and help figure something out.
We appreciate that.
So I think what I'm hearing is leave this section as it's worded now and then try to figure out what an appropriate policy is under the new state statute.
Yeah, because the people downstairs should have something that they can pull their hand and go by.
Should be automatic if people are
Right.
acting in good faith.
And it would be worth checking with them about how payment plans might work best for them.
Right. Exactly.
So that goes through the list of changes that I made based on the notes that I had from last time anyway. I just know if there are others, the big picture of this is intended just to be an interim patch for the current bylaw to deal with immediate issues, or current ordinance to deal with immediate issues.
Thanks for getting that.
Yeah. About the sewer well. I'm messing with you, John.
So I've got a question for John and the rest of the task force. Are you all thinking that this is nearing the point where we could distribute it and let the council consider it and take action on it? And if so, we have an unusual moment because this is a 3-week lag instead of 2 between council meetings. So if you could pull something together, if you're ready to do it, and you could pull something together by the end of next week, we could distribute it a week in advance of the meeting instead of just a couple of days. So people would really have time to try and absorb it.
Well, I think we need one more meeting to make the.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to rush it.
I talked about.
Okay.
All right, so now we're on to these. So
So unless there's anything more on the ordinance, the list of policy questions that I had here really were partially addressed in this and partially separate issues. The first question was, what are the parameters of determining a fee schedule? And essentially, it's guidelines for people who are asking for the meter waiver. What should we be looking at? Creating some general parameters or standards to guide the council in making those decisions. on impossibility or financial infeasibility of putting in a meter. Impossibility would be a situation where it's going to cost you more than X $1,000 to modify the property to put a meter in. What's the point of financial no return? You know, is it 1,000? Are we going to try to define it as $1,000, $2,000, whatever the figure is, an objective standard there.
I had a question. Paul, did you guys have any meter pits in your system at all?
Just large meter pits. No meter pits for residential stuff.
Yeah.
One of the water ordinances for one of the other towns I read, and I've forgotten which one it is now, but one in Vermont did not distinguish between residential and commercial in terms of a requirement for meter pits or vaults. It basically said if your property needs one, you're going to put it in at your expense. End of conversation. And no indication of financial infeasibility whatsoever.
How does that work? Is there like an electric heating element in there?
No, we have two. One is actually a Pretty Beach, but no, we pull the meter out in the wintertime because it's just in line in a place where you had to put a pit in. But
You typically would not put a pit in if you don't have a pipe big enough with enough flow through it to stop it from freezing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it's not. It's just got to be a big load.
It can't be a low flow
Okay.
scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
the reason I ask is that the two that I'm familiar with, that it certainly wouldn't work. That's why I
Has
didn't know if there's any other alternative out there, but
Has Dave Harris or any of the other salespeople that come through, have there been any advancements in ultrasonic meters? I mean, they were coming along fairly good when I stepped away from water, but I didn't know.
yeah, I'm not sure.
It might be worth an ask, but that doesn't help answer your question as far as what's our cutoff.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, on the other hand, I think the arbitrary requirement that you have to build a pit without any regard to economics is absurd.
Yeah, that
Well, but for large meter, that's
Can't be
very
the-
common. But
It
for
doesn't seem like the
residential-
most expensive part of it all.
No, exactly. For large meters, I mean, that's not uncommon that the owner is responsible for building the pit, doing the plumbing up to the pit.
Yeah, if you're going to use 50 or 100,000 gallons a month, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
For a house, it makes zero sense.
0 cents, exactly. I agree.
So that's where we get back to our idea of what's the reasonable cutoff for financial impossibility. The construction impossibility would be established by the contractor, I would think, in the sense that, the property is sitting in the high water table like the condos down there, and there's simply no place to put it.
Well, it's hard because $1,000 to Jennifer would be $100 to me. I mean,
Right, and but I think having some objective standard makes sense, because you can't weigh the decision on, somebody's financial statement when they're applying for the waiver. It needs to be a hard and fast fixed standard that's applicable across the board.
and there needs to be a time frame associated with it.
And then that's yet another separate issue, whether it's a waiver for a 5 or 10 year period, and then it's reviewed based upon changes in technology. If there's no.
Oh, yeah, it should not be a lifetime waiver.
yeah.
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
what are we
Yeah.
gonna potentially see, 100, 150 of them?
That we have problems with.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's less than that, but
Okay, so
I think
if
the biggest problem we're having right now is if it's galvanized going into the house.
I'm putting all that. Okay, I'm putting together an application right now. What are you guys talking about? This galvanized steel or iron, copper, lead, plastic. Is there any other material that you would want listed on this? any of those not apply? Are you gonna see plastic anywhere?
Well, people are bringing
Okay,
plastic in.
okay.
Curb stop under the house.
The problem with galvanized is, yeah, how, you know, yeah, you can use a compression fitting to do it, but
Yeah, but then the city just took on a future leak.
yeah, we
Somebody
don't
said-
feel comfortable about that. Or you just look at it wrong and now it's leaking.
I mean, honestly, the places that have galvanized, it's just a matter of time before they're gonna have to replace it with copper, and at that point, you
So-
put the meter in.
So here's, yeah, can't force somebody to change something that's not broken.
Right.
So how do we address, because we're, as you just said, Jennifer, you're probably gonna have that 150 that are galvanized.
Yeah.
Easily.
Wow.
And how do we address that?
How much is the cost? I mean, is there a way of ballparking what the cost is to get rid of the galvanized?
Well, you gotta go all the way to the curb stop.
Sidewalks,
Yeah.
trees,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's a
I was
huge
thinking it was
undertaking.
outrageous, so I just.
It could be really simple, it could be really difficult.
Yeah. I mean, your case, I don't know where yours goes in, but yours, you know, not a very, there's probably 20 feet to the house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But some cases,
Deep 20 feet probably.
you might have some that are across the road.
Right.
As far as I know, my curb stops is in the middle of the.
No,
street.
yeah,
Yeah, it's underneath
So-
the asphalt, yeah.
I mean, mine's copper coming in, but my curb stop is literally 80 to 100 feet away from the house.
yeah.
Mine's a good 50 or 60. 50. No, yeah, close. Right up on the road. I found mine, fortunately. I know where it is. I borrowed my mom's metal detector.
I believe I saw mine when they were doing it.
But, I mean, because from the curb stop to the house is the customer's responsibility.
Right, but how do we address that, getting the meter in?
You don't. Because the minute we touch that galvanized.
Oh, no, I own it. We're
So I would say we don't touch galvanized.
we're
So-
attached to it.
Right.
So there's gonna be a whole category where they
There is.
cannot be metered because we are refusing to do the meter.
Well, the other side of that is, I believe some, and I'll have to check with Jason and Corey, quite a few of the ones that we said, either they had to have the house structurally changed or plumbing, was some were galvanized coming in. And then they opted to hire a plumber, and I don't know how the plumber did it.
It doesn't matter.
But there again, doesn't take it off us,
Yeah.
because we didn't do the work,
We didn't do the work. Exactly.
you know?
When did they stop using galvanized?
My house was built in '69, it was all copper.
Yeah. Mine was built in '70, it's all copper.
Believe it or not, hate to admit it, but I kind of argue with it, but there was when I first started here, they laid a copper line down on Coventry Street to a house that was out quite a ways, and I said, why are you putting galvanized in? Wow, it's such a stretch, it was too much, I didn't want to spend the money. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was the last galvanized we'd ever used in the city before it.
Yeah.
Just didn't make sense to me.
When
When did you start?
93.
Okay.
I mean, there's got to be some way to.
Yeah,
I
actually,
mean, I don't know what it would have cost to put my meter in because I did some bartering for it. So,
What a bow.
Do you have a plumber do your work there, or did we?
yeah, I just want to do it. And yes,
Did you not have room, Paul, or was it more, you had copper coming
I
in,
had copper coming in. It was just too
tight of a restraint?
yeah, for an easy, so we had to swing it out.
Yeah.
But what if we just took an average plumbing bill to cut in for a plumber to come do it. And add 10 or 20% to it, and that's our cutoff for the people that are just piping issues, structural issues. I have no idea how you're doing.
Well, it depends on what the
Whatever.
structural issue is. Is it something, you know, a simple carpenter could do, or is it something major?
Right.
You know, where there's just no way they're gonna do it.
Yeah, right. Is it literally moving a built-in cabinet in the basement?
Exactly.
Different wall.
Right.
And
Or is it within the wall and it's just not
Well, yeah,
visible?
because I'm sure,
the way to do that is simply, a contractor's estimate. And, you know, if the estimate is less than whatever the magic number we pick is, then the work needs to be done. If the estimate's more than that number, that's
Get cut off.
evidence that they should continue on the flat rate. I mean, that's one way to do it, because ultimately, for anything that's structural, is going to require some input from whichever trade is needed, whether it's a plumber, carpenter, or both.
Okay, so on that topic, are we gonna want to know who that plumber was and see a slip?
Well, yeah, just a written estimate.
Yeah,
I would think that would be evidence. I mean, we're certainly not going to be pulling numbers out of a hat saying, well, you know, we think it only takes 6 hours to cut into this wall or whatever.
right, but I mean, how do you monitor that? I mean, so I call the Bob. and
That's
have
what I
him
said
write
last
me an
meeting.
estimate,
That's what I said.
you know,
Well, and
So-
hopefully it's gonna be a licensed.
well, hopefully.
Well, so what,
License.
So then we would have to put that in.
You'd have to specify.
we can put down right here,
And
like,
licensed contractor, he said licensing them now, then contractors.
I don't know. I don't-
Not
Contractors
not-
have to register with the state. There's a new
Okay.
registration.
but there's no license.
Yeah, there's no licensing required for a general contractor for 1 and 2 family residences.
Yeah.
There's only a fairly new registration requirement.
So on the forum, I'm asking for a Newport DPW inspection date and inspector name, and then we can do the same thing, licensed plumber, and
Registered carpenter.
I honestly, I think we should go with the plumber first, and from there, if it's structural, then the board might want to be like, okay, like we need to see.
Well, the plumber probably could go in and say, before I can do my part, which is going to cost X dollars, you need a carpenter to do A, B, and C.
But first step is the plumber,
Yeah,
right?
I kind of agree with it now, thinking about it, because my foreman, did carpentry work for 7 or 8 years, so he's pretty knowledgeable with building.
Yeah.
We could be the first line to assess the structural part of it.
Right.
And if we feel it's beyond our means, then look
Then
at it some
plumber.
other way, yeah.
Or in the
Start
plumber
with
that says the
plumber.
same thing, then that's additional evidence to support somebody's waiver request, right? But
Right.
at the moment, I think we just include licensed plumber and estimate.
Yeah.
That they could provide if possible.
And then it's not
I
addressed
think
then.
we should really have a plumbing estimate if it's a plumbing issue.
Well, except in the case where the plumber's like, I literally can't bid this because something major else has to change. Something else
Yeah,
major
yeah.
has to change.
And the plumber can say that, and then that's it.
On the estimate, yeah. Sure, yeah.
Because there are some things like if I hadn't known it was gonna be tight when the guys came, they would have marked my place down for structural and plumbing, because I had a slop sink that somebody had built a whole cabinet around, and there was literally this much space between. But I knew, so I tore all that out.
Yeah.
But, so it could be little stuff like that, that they're calling structural.
And yeah, in that case, you know, the average homeowner probably wouldn't have the means or knowledge to want to go ripping stuff out like that. And they might have to hire a plumber to do
Right.
that.
Hey, y'all, I'm going to jump in for just a second. I need to spend some time with my dad and my uncle, so I'm going to beg off. Patrick, will you just keep an eye? Because sometimes when there's no one else on, it tries to kick you off and then the recording would end. Just kind of turn it so you can keep an eye. Okay,
Yep.
thanks, everybody. I really appreciate your work. See you soon.
Take care, Beth or Rick.
Bye.
Ben or something.
Yeah, the other items here, second one, in terms of connection base fee for attached ADU, I think we've effectively resolved that by saying, that it's on a separate meter, it has its own. It just follows the standard schedule.
Yeah.
But that was an issue that had been raised downstairs way back before we started looking at these amendments.
Yeah.
We'll leave this as for.
And then, yeah, and then 3 and 4 have effectively been resolved. But those were both brought up again by downstairs before we started discussing these amendments. So I think we've covered those.
We're done.
So I think that's it, unless anyone else has.
I mean,
anything.
so we should
Tonight.
just tell, Jennifer and I should probably tell you that we got together and started working on rates. And we're brainstorming some stuff, but we need another meeting, just the two of us, before we can bring anything forward. Cut and dry.
Yeah,
Just,
crunching numbers.
we're crunching numbers, we have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets with tabs, and we'll be here all night if we try to explain to you our thought process. So what if?
I concur.
Okay, I think you had some other
Yes.
questions.
Yeah, so mostly I'm here just to try to get an understanding. Kind of go back and talk to everybody on the street. Part of the reason why most of us haven't put the meters in is because we don't get any services on our street. We had a water main break last year. We had to pay for it out of pocket. We called the city water department and they told us that because it's on the development, it was on us. Nobody works on our road. We have to do all the road work ourselves to fix our roads. This stuff doesn't get plowed or anything like that. So all the services for the road is all on our community. Right? And because of that, when we got the notices for the water meters, we just kind of blew it off and we're like, they want to come out here and ask us about it. That being said, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that was kind of the mentality and that's the reason for the delay in getting the meters. We do have one person on our street who put a meter in and he said his first month's bill went up by over $100. And then the second month his bill jumped, or the second quarter after that, his bill jumped up to over $500. And so he's telling everybody, don't put one in, which you got to kind of take him with a grain of salt. But we have a very varied community. We have everything from retirees to a young family in the early 20s who's got a couple of kids. And so it's one of the concerns is what does it cost to install a meter?
It's about $500.
What's that?
About $500
Costs about $500.
estimated.
But that's the city's cost.
That's the city's.
What does
Yes.
it cost us?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, because he said that there were a couple of fees that he wasn't familiar with that he had asked about.
If-
So we shouldn't see anything on our bill.
Unless the house is new and if it's a new house, they install a meter. But the houses are pre-existing. We're installing them with our staff free. I mean, we're all paying for it, but we're not going to send you a bill for that meter install. And in the case of your neighbor, I would highly suggest he contact us and have us come data log that meter. You know, a lot of people that have never been on a meter, you know, they're probably not paying attention to what's going on in their house, like the rest of us are that have meters. And I tell you, if he's got a toilet leak to buy, he's gonna have some high bills.
One's got to jiggle the handle.
Is he?
I grew up on a farm, so.
How many people living in the house? Just one or two, or is there a family?
I think they have 5 living there.
Okay.
3 kids.
Well,
So,
Could be a leak or not.
I'll be
Doors on that big.
Well,
jokingly, any girls in the family? Because I had a daughter, and I tell you, and I have to boot her out of the shower.
The youngest one, so I think Poppy's 8. The older girl is 15.
Well, there you go.
And I got a 15-year-old teenage boy, and yeah, trying to get him out of the shower in under 30 minutes of hassle.
Well, you give him a job so he can pay the water bill, and maybe he'd stop taking half-hour showers. But
So I'm assuming, when that development, holiday development was built, there was no agreement with the city to take over infrastructure of the road.
no, you know, history of Wildflower. Everybody, they've come in here every couple of years. It was developed, never built to city standards. They have a pump station, so their sewer is pumped here. So the road wasn't built to city spec, the infrastructure wasn't built to city spec. And it's been said all along. I mean, John lives on a road that's the same scenario.
Six houses ranging from couple in their 20s to
Yep.
folks in their
Yep,
late 70s, and we pay to plow. And our road is 4/10 of a mile long, and 6 houses split it. And we pay to maintain our water line all the way in from the lake road ourselves.
Yep.
And we had a leak that we paid for earlier this year. We have a kind of, we have an association of sorts. It's pretty informal. It's a one-page handshake deal that predates my moving down there. But everybody throws money in the pot for winter maintenance of the road and.
We do the same.
maintenance of the
We
water
don't have
line.
an arrangement, but they talked about setting up an HOA. But I'm firmly against HOAs just because I get along with all my neighbors now. But if somebody buys a house and moves in and decides to become president and start causing problems, I just don't want to deal with that. But all of us equally pitch in, and we don't have any issues currently with any of it.
Well, an HOA could be restricted. Our little association is restricted to 2 things: road maintenance and the water line. Period. That's it. It has no other function. And the state now in new subdivisions where there's not going to be a municipal takeover mandates HOAs. But they're not necessarily the Florida type of HOA that says you can't drive a car more than 5 years old. Or you have to mow your lawn twice a week or any of that crap. They're limited to dealing with the road, or in the state's case, any kind of shared water infrastructure, shared road infrastructure. And they can be limited to those specific topics. They don't have to be bothered. I mean, some clearly are in some places, but there's no reason that they need to be. And if it's restricted in the sense that I described, it can't be.
Well, fortunately for right now, we're handling everything pretty well as far as just being neighborly, but.
so I'll just recap that a little bit. So before my time with the city, sometime in the 80s, the city found, we still plow a number of roads in the city that are private. We plow them, we grade them, and that's it. But there was a certain time, sometime in the 80s, that the city said, we're not doing that anymore. Whether back in the day, the plow drivers just, hey, I'll give you a fifth and come down and plow my driveway or plow the road or whatever. However it happened, the city stopped it and said, okay, we're not doing that anymore unless if a new development or new road comes in, it has to be built to city specs and we're not touching it. Otherwise, all the rest of the taxpayers have to pay that bill to bring that road up to standards.
Unfortunately, everybody on our street, when we purchased, we were all told that the city was going to be taking over the road once the entire development, all 8 properties, was developed, and we still have a lot that's not developed. Unfortunately, a handshake deal in the 70s doesn't amount to much today.
Right.
And none of us knew that when we purchased the homes, and certainly nobody told me when I bought mine, but I was told the same thing, that when the last property was developed, the city would take it over, and I have found out since that that's not gonna happen. So, but I mean, that's another topic anyway, because you and I have already discussed it.
Yeah.
So what do we know about the difference in cost between metered and unmetered lines? Like if we were to get a waiver for our street and decide to keep it unmetered. I mean, assuming we could. I mean, what would the difference in that?
So I think you can jump in, but I think our goal is to get everybody metered. So unmetered is going to become unreasonable.
Okay.
And the reason for that is our bills are high because we produce a certain amount of gallons. We don't know how many of those gallons that we produce are delivered to people because we don't have meters at every hookup, and we could be losing, who knows, up to 30–40% of our water if we have major leaks somewhere and we have no idea that it's happening. And so without metering everybody, we have no out. We have the in, we don't have the out. And if we don't have the out, then everybody's bearing the cost of the losses. And theoretically, if we can tighten up our pipe work, then the average burden of everybody's bill that covers those losses is going to go down.
Okay.
The meters also are trying to incentivize water conservation measures. So like I've got one 3.5 gallon toilet. Every flush, 3.5 gallons. It is a fish tank. It's huge. Compared
My
to
house was built in 2012, and it's everything.
great. Yeah, great. So that's going to work in your favor. Shower heads, reducing low flow shower heads. Like that's a hell of a lot cheaper one purchase than even a quarter of a unmetered. Yeah, and then even a quarter of an unmetered, bill, right? So that's what we're trying, because the city doesn't want to just produce water just because. If we can reduce the production and usage, then we can reduce everybody's cost.
Okay.
So.
So you said there's a connection fee or
Your
So-
bill is going to come. Right now, you've got a non-metered rate. So the bill is going to come and there's going to be a connection fee. There's going to be a fee for the current bill, the first 13,500 gallons, and then a fee for over that. And then it's repeated again for the sewer part.
okay.
So your bill will look different. The overall is that right now, what you are paying as an unmetered is equivalent to what you would pay if you had paid the base rate and the 13,500 gallons.
Gotcha.
So as long as you're under the 13.5, and we're juggling the rates, we're probably going to get a rate lower than the 13.5 because that's what the usage is, to be fairer to the people who are the low-end consumers.
Okay. What is the current rate per gallon versus the previous rate before the?
Hang on, got it right here. Okay, well, if you take the rate in February of 25, your base water was $47.19. And effective in August, it went to $64.99. And now this February, it is at, unfortunately, $86.64. Part of that is because of the debt service having to be added on. And then their rates for the first 13.5 gallons, which you pay in addition to that rate.
Okay, and what is the rate for 13,005?
That
0.30.
is currently $3.29.
$3.29 per thousand.
And if you go back a year, that didn't change in August, but in February, it was $2.42.
I'll just give you this.
Or I can give you my copy.
That's great. That's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
that summarizes all.
Would you
the
like
Yeah,
changes.
this will give me something I can actually
Okay,
show.
you're welcome.
Yeah,
That's what I produce, is all those idiot things.
so hard on yourself.
All right.
I just kept on forgetting what the rates were.
And I know they're gonna ask why the rate was increased. And I know we talked about some of it, but
The main part of the rate increase was the debt service, the water tower, and then the debt, the sewer department's debt to the city. And sewer and water, I guess the water department's debt to the city also. In prior, if you go back far enough, we didn't raise the rates when we should have over time. And so they raised the rates, but we had to do a real major sort of catch up because of what was happening. That on top of the new debt service that came in. And we were not expecting the 1 million that sewer owed the general fund, that we would have to, pay that back too. So this is all, it's all cumulative. And it's like, the worst double whammy you could ask for.
Yeah, basically the rates did not change for 7 years, notwithstanding the costs went up considerably.
I know my water bill was the same the first 3 years I lived here. So.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then you just saw it and just the increase has been phenomenal.
Which is why with all of us being on the street together and all of us paying the exact
Same rate,
bill,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden we saw the increase all at once, and it's like, so everybody got together, like, what the hell?
And we don't want to pit neighbors against neighbors, but like, you're all paying the same. And one of those houses, you said had 5 people in it. And
Yeah.
one of those houses probably got 1 in them, right? And they're paying the same.
My
Price.
house
Good
2 years
point.
ago had 3 adults and 2 children,
Yeah,
and now my house has 2 adults and 1 child.
Yeah.
So,
So your usage would go down, all things. being
Yeah.
equal.
Yep.
so it's definitely something else I'm gonna do.
I mean, if you think, if you're gonna be somebody who is out there every single day in the summer, watering your lawn for 4 hours.
yeah.
You're gonna pay for it.
That person, well, I would recommend postponing getting a meter, though they really should get a meter because we want to capture that.
Yeah.
But, if you're, a family of 2, it's basically, it's worth it. But, it is considering what you do about it. Somebody asked about because they had a swimming pool, what it was like, and I figured out how many gallons a swimming pool was. And realizing that if they had to fill it every single year, but then I learned, no, you just drain the top off. And so they're only filling less. So that made it sort of somewhat feasible for them.
Yeah, when we had a pool, we drained roughly 10 inches off the top every fall and refilled only that 10 inches in the spring.
The only interesting thing is that because you fill it in the pool and you're not going to drain the pool into the sewer system, you still are paying that water went to the sewer system. So that was the
Or you
point
call the
where,
fire department, pay them to come out. It's a one-time fee.
That's usually really rusty water. I'm just kidding.
The moment you can see on, nobody has a pool out there.
Yeah.
Well,
We got the one person on the street that had one got rid of his 2 years ago.
Yeah.
well, the service company that used to maintain most of the in-ground pools around here for many, many years had a deal with the Derby Center Water Department where they would use a milk tanker and buy water from Derby Center to fill pools that had to be filled from scratch instead of drawing water from either the municipal system directly or people's wells. They would hook up. There was one particular hydrant in the Derby Center system where they had standing permission to connect. And they would load the tanker and bring it in.
Hope they rinsed it.
We would, in the systems we managed, we would set up a hydrant for independent haulers to fill pools. Then it was
Metered.
Yeah.
Um, So who do we talk to if we think that the water is running high, like my neighbor said?
I'll give you a card. I'll go get a business card and I'll give it to you.
Is it so we would contact you?
Well, if you contact me, I will put you in contact with the guys at the wastewater plant.
Oh, okay.
And as far as putting in a meter, I'll put on the back of the card, we have an email address that we're asking people to email your contact information, your residence, a phone number, an email, so we can establish, get a schedule going to try to get some meters in. 'Cause honestly, I think you'd be better off to put meters in.
Well, I mean, after this meeting, I'm definitely gonna get in touch with somebody.
Yeah.
And then, if somebody comes by to do a check on the water usage, is there a fee for that, or is that?
Nope.
Okay.
Do you know where your, water comes in the house?
I know where mine comes in the house. Cause mine comes in off the water main and it's right next to, it's actually about 3 feet from the electrical lines, I believe, that run underground. But they're offset. So I've got, if this is the main road that runs in front of the house, I've got my driveway, and then I'm at the edge of my property. I've got a line that comes in for the water. And then I've got an electrical box that's probably 20, 25 feet off the road. And then, so that comes in this way. So I've got the water line here, and then the electrical comes in on the side.
But there's a valve where it comes in the house.
There's a whole bunch of valves down there. I'm not a plumber.
More valves is better.
Yeah, sure.
I
Yeah.
just put in a brand new heating unit that runs radiant heat through the house.
Yeah.
So that's all down in one section, and I think all my water and everything runs right into that section of the house.
Nice.
So it should be pretty easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Hinton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he was the one who built the house for his family
Oh,
over
really?
there, and I know him.
Yeah.
So they lived there for like 8 years, and everything is like as efficient as it can be.
Yeah.
And the heating in the winter time is amazing. If I didn't have dogs running in there, my sliding glass door, I'd probably, and that's because I can't get the wife and kid to take them through the garage.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
let's see, what else have I got? So I can get here. Do you guys have regular meetings?
We're gonna schedule the next one.
Yeah.
That's our last topic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'll write that down when you guys do that.
So them are Thursdays. The
There's
timing is good, like 1 week or 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I gather from Rick, he wants us 1 week.
Yeah. Stuck a note on the calendar. I can't do it next week, but 2 weeks.
Oh, this was the last one that I had.
Yep.
So if our water main breaks, I mean, how is that going to impact? That's gonna impact everybody's water usage on the street. And given that it's a private water line on the development and the city isn't gonna fix it, we've got to get somebody else in there. And I know our water lines are buried between 8 and 10 feet.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know that the water line was leaking until it bubbled up in front of my driveway. So that whole area was completely saturated, through the ground at 8 feet before we noticed that it was leaking. It was like that for a couple of months. So I'm just
So
wondering if-
fortunately, your meters are downstream of that leak.
Right.
So the city would,
We're all paying for that loss.
yeah.
Ultimately.
it worked out for
But
us.
that is the exact reason why we want to know, why we want everybody to be on a meter, because we at least know that there's a loss somewhere in the system because we're not metering as much as we're putting into the mains.
I mean, it was bubbling up in front of my driveway, but I actually, we thought it was just water running off for a while because it wasn't actively bubbling and cooling. But I went out and I looked at it one day when it was finally dry, and it was the only area that hadn't dried out. So I walked over to check it out, and I could see where it was coming through.
Yeah.
Because
65
of some of the
PSI,
landscaping
right?
work I've done, I recognized it. I'm like, okay, that's not supposed to do that. So we started looking at our drainage pipes.
It's not oil bubbling out of the ground.
So we got a hold of the guy who, Bob Green, we got a hold of him because he's the one who owns the development.
Mhm.
And he had somebody come out and dig it up, and so my driveway was basically blocked off for a couple of days till they got it fixed.
Mhm.
But it's still, it cost us out of pocket to get that fixed, and then.
Yeah. So, you know, say something like that happened, and would your system, that's its own line going up Highland, right? Is that Highland 105, whatever that road is?
It's a branch that goes on.
It's a branch off of it, yeah.
So is there a city meter at some junction that's, you know, that you would, no. I wouldn't do
The
that.
SCADA, do your SCADA system pick up high flows? Tank
Oh,
drops?
well, I mean, most leaks would start out as a slow leak and then they increase. So you're never gonna see it.
Skyrocketing.
Well, you might. I mean, if there was a major break, yeah, we've actually had that happen before. Whereas we started searching everywhere to figure out and we'd end up finding a major break somewhere on a property.
Mhm.
Because, you know, Jason started hollering and said, hey, the tower, I can't keep up with the tower.
Yeah.
So, I mean, cases like that, we do know.
So
this.
you do have some instrumentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Small stuff.
But you
No.
can't do next week.
I can't do next week. So 2 weeks from tonight, same time, same place.
April 2nd?
What is it?
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
I will be traveling, so I won't be here.
I won't be available.
How about Wednesday, April 1st?
Not available.
I have a DRV meeting.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
I could do Tuesday the 31st.
I can't, but I don't think I'm as critical.
Yeah, I could. plan to do
If
something
you
else
send
on
us
the
that form,
31st.
yeah.
Okay.
Monday the 30th. Assuming we can get from that. There's no council meeting, so.
There is the city manager committee on that night at 6:00 here.
Okay.
I'll be in
Well, nothing to do at
Or on my
Dallas.
way back to Rhode Island.
Friday, the 27th?
I'll be gone.
Okay.
A Friday? I'll be gone.
You're a glutton.
Friday night?
Yeah.
Okay.
My
so we
wife
might
would
have
be
to go
like,
back to the 25th.
seriously?
So,
Well,
March
we
25th?
could kick it back, I suppose, to Thursday the 9th, go 3 weeks. And that would push getting all this back
I
to the
think
council back one meeting, but that should work, I guess.
I might have a conflict, but I think everybody.
Oh, you were just complaining about us.
what about the,
I mean, that's.
Yeah, that's actually the only night I have that week. Yeah, booked every other night.
I mean, I would make it late.
So we,
The 9th?
Well, that gives us plenty of time to work on rates.
Well, there you
it
go.
does, yeah.
yeah,
And the rates would have to be in for,
No, we don't have to worry about it for another, month and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, let's see,
they'd have to approve them.
so March, April, May, we'd have, if we're going to make any adjustments, we'd have to do it by the end of May, am I correct? Or am I off a month? March, April,
I think so.
yeah, May. So
Okay.
we'd have some time.
Yeah, because the next billing comes out in May, so it's before the next billing,
Right.
so it will be the very end of April.
So 6:30 on the 9th.
So 6:30.
Are you just because of the board meeting?
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah, Jennifer and I both might be
Okay,
late,
that's
but
what we put in the request.
I will be remote for both either way.
Put it on the calendar.
You have a phone call or
That's fine.
email?
I could be in Myrtle Beach.
Do you also have the contact information for Rick? You said I could get a hold of him for the family at the end of the week. You said he would advocate for him. I think he could help us.
It's like, it's mayor at Newport or what
That's just his name.
is it?
Yeah, look up for Chase. It's on the Newport website for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his name, but I don't know if there's a dot in his name or not. Somebody has an email from him.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Well, one of us will get there eventually.
I have to make sure I plug this in so it stays.
Okay, it is, Rick dot
Got
Ufford Chase, UFFORD
I'm sorry, I can't write that fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to spell his name either.
Yeah, Rick, RICH dot, sorry, RICK, Jesus. UFF ORD
Do you want to meet next week?
Chase, CHASE. At newportvermont.org.
Newport and Vermont are spelled right out, just
Yeah.
like mine.
I'm with you.
So his email will be similar name wise, like setup. the way mine is.
Do the 24.
Says .org.
Okay, okay, I gotta.